welcome back to the Millennial Outliers Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Justin Deal, with my main man, Pots and Pans, Tyler Ardron. Ty Guy, what's the word, brother?
Yo, what's going on, brother?
So we have a little different episode for you guys this year, just like last year. We are actually live. We have some beautiful people here with us at Death of the Fox Brewery down in Clarksboro. Grateful to be here. And we have three amazing speakers for you guys today to really help you get all the momentum building into this new year. You know, 2024 is sadly, it's over. We have a little over 2 weeks left in it, but we are kicking this off with one of my favorite people on the planet. Somebody, if you follow her on social media, even if you think that you're moving a lot, she will make you feel like you're running in mud. It's my good friend, Jen Groover. Jen, thanks so much for being here this morning.
Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. So, Jen, you've been on a lot of different stages. You've done TED Talks. You kind of travel the world, it feels like, helping people with mindset, with framing things, and with overall building culture and things within companies. So what I really wanted to talk as, you know, folks are either crushing their goals this year, they're feeling like they fell a little short, or maybe, you know, they just have this last 2 week race to really get it going. It all starts with mindset. Yeah. So I wanted you to talk a little bit about just the importance, kind of framing things. And I always love when you kind of talk about the aerial view through Central Park as a nice visible thing for folks to take. So,
all right, I'll revisit that. I actually saw this video the other day that cracked me up because we're all in that middle of the holiday hustle and everyone feels like they're trying to enjoy the moment, but they're falling behind on all these things. And there's a lady on an escalator walking down a going up escalator, and then she tripped and fell, and she kept trying to get up, and then she kept falling back. And I was like, that's how most people feel right now.
Yeah.
But, you know, this is a good time, especially that week between Christmas and New Year's, to reflect and make goals, and not just goals, because goals to me are ego, but really get into your desires. What are you desiring in the year ahead? And when you're thinking that through, most people will think, well, I do desire this, but how will I possibly even get that? And that part of the question then creates self-doubt for most people. And that's the opportunity to say, what if? What if is one of the most powerful questions anyone can ask themselves or others. Instead of what if I fail? What if I succeed? What does that look like? Or what if I don't know how to do this? What if you do and you just haven't thought that through? What if you take some time to reflect on your Rolodex? What if you take some time this year to ask people for help? You probably have more supportive people around you than you've ever thought. So anytime you're thinking a negative thought, flip it to the positive instead of, what if this is too hard? What if it's easier than you thought it was? What does that look like? And the reason I keep going to what does that look like is once you flip the negative thought to a positive thought, you then go into the visualization process, the positive visualization process of what could that look like? And then you become emotionally connected. That's where the emotional intelligence comes in. Emotion is energy. Energy, when you put energy behind that emotion, that it emits into the universe. And then things start to align. And this is quantum physics. It's not woo-woo stuff. It's legit physics. And then that's where all this the magical things and the manifestations start to happen, because you put energy and belief behind what your desires are. And again, anytime you come across that negativity, how do I take that negativity and turn it into something positive and optimistic?
Yeah. Do you have any insight on that for folks? Because we do, you know, a lot of folks in here have done 75 Hard or they're familiar with it. And Andy Frisil, excuse my French, and I know we got little kids here, always talks about your bitch voice, right? And that is that negative side that constantly tells you what you can't do, what you won't do, how you haven't shown up. Any tips for folks that they can kind of flip that to the positive side, or, you know, just ways to kind of make that a little better?
So I always say that you have two options in life, or two questions to ask. Is this thought process or this behavior hurting me or helping? It's really that simple. We overcomplicate life so much, but is it hurting me or helping me? And if it's hurting you, then stop doing it. So if you're thinking these negative self-destructive thoughts and you catch yourself in it, then the trick is to say, is this hurting me or helping me? Oh, wow, I'm hurting myself. Now you've used the ego to help you instead of sabotage you. And so once you get to that place of awareness, then the tip or the trick for the next step is, how do I see this differently so that I'm helping myself instead of hurting myself. And then you train your brain to have new perspective. The first step in all of it, though, is awareness. There's a lot of people that will say, oh, I'm so positive and optimistic. And then you hear them talk for just 90 seconds and you're like, what? There's a lack of self-awareness here. And so everyone needs to be committed to being humble enough to becoming self-aware so they can stop the self-destructive thought processes and patterns and be able to turn them around. No one's perfect. We're all flawed. We all make mistakes. Our egos get triggered. We get emotional. How do you turn that around quickly is the question. And then always to know you're in control of your emotions and thoughts. And that's the emotional intelligence again, is when your emotions are out of control, your decisions are going to be out of control.
Thinking emotionally instead of rationally, right? I like what you said too there, because it's really, most folks lack standards, right? A lot of people think they have standards, but they really just have kind of expectations, and they have things they assume to be true. But when it comes to it, they usually bail, right? And they don't really hold the line. So I love that fact with it. And self-awareness, I said, is such a superpower, because most people aren't, right? Like we really do. We have this inflated vision of who we are or what we do or what we're about. So just being honest with yourself is a great overall advice right there.
And expectations is such a powerful word. I could talk about this for hours.
Let's jump in.
Expectations. The number one thing that causes self-inflicted pain. Our expectations of others is the number one thing that causes self-inflicted pain. And this is ideal during the holiday time. Think about how much family friction exists. Think about all the people that make jokes and there's memes and they're serious about the destruction or the hard feelings in families or around old friends. And going into the holidays, before you get into those situations, think, how can I change my expectations of others to not feel this way? Because your expectations of how somebody else is supposed to think like you, be like you, act like you, respond like you, write a note like you, give a gift like you, is what's causing that destruction and that pain. That's what's causing the friction. That's what's causing the downfall. And the reality is that's your fault. Your expectations of others is in your control, and that's your responsibility. No one else's. So if you're expecting someone to think like you, act like you, or be like you, and they can't be because they're not you, you're now manipulating somebody else to try to be what you want them to be, not allowing them to be who they actually are. And so when you change those expectations, allowing people to be who they are, you now no longer get hurt or drugged down and being let down by people not acting the way that you think that they should be. The only way that this changes is when you have clearly communicated expectations. So if you're in a marriage or you're in relationships or a business partner and you communicate those expectations and the other person agrees upon those expectations, then you have a deal. Now that's different. If the person doesn't hold up their end of the deal, then you can say, hey, I'm disappointed. You didn't hold up your end of the deal. But when people just expect or assume people to behave the way they want them to, that is where so much of our own strife and struggle lies. And if we could actually change just that one thing, our entire lives could change.
Amen. I heard a quote that, as you were saying, that it reminded me of it, unspoken expectations lead to future resentments.
Of course.
And that's to your point, when we don't communicate it and we assume, we all know what assumptions lead to, right?
Right.
We're setting ourselves up because it was our decision not to communicate and actually be clear. My mother has a great saying in our company, verify and clarify. And when you don't do that with somebody, you really did kind of dishonor or give them a disservice because they didn't realize what the standards where the bar was.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And communication clears that up from the get-go and saying, here's what my expectations are, or here's what I like. And the other person can say no. They can say, I don't sign up for that. That's not what I want to be doing here. And then you have what's called a decision to make. Do you want to continue to engage in that dynamic of that relationship or not? But if the other person's given the opportunity to understand the expectations, then they are able to be honest and communicate effectively of, I'm not signing up for this, or I am. And now we have a deal. But otherwise, I did this with my father for many years. He was hardcore drill sergeant in the Marines, grew up in Chester, dirt poor, was very strict. And I expected him to be warm and fuzzy like a lot of my friends' fathers were, and be that dad at every sporting event like all my friends' dads were. And he wasn't that guy. That's not who he was. He instilled work ethic in me. He instilled discipline. There's a lot of things he did. But what my expectations were comparing him to other people's fathers would let me down. And once I realized this after college, after getting mad at him and resentful, I finally realized he had gone through a lot of things that other people hadn't gone through, a lot of hardship, a lot of strife. He'd seen things when he was a Marine that other people didn't have to live through or see or internalize. And so for that, there's acceptance in who somebody is. And I let go of those expectations. And no longer was I disappointed. I was actually felt sad for him in many ways that he had to go through those experiences, and then could accept those behaviors not as shortcomings, but outcomes of results of living through certain things.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out, Jen, that what you said really, with that whole thing, the biggest thing is starting with that communication.
Right.
And then letting go after that.
Yep.
Really just getting started with having that communication, opening up and talking through that, right?
Yes. Communication's that's a whole nother lesson too, right? There's a lot of times clients will come to me and say, one client recently had an issue with her husband, and she was saying, I feel like I'm really resentful, and I feel like I'm really tired. She has 2 little kids, and I feel like he's not contributing enough. And I was like, did you talk to him about this? She was like, well, I don't know what to say. I'm like, just say what you said to me. Like,
Yeah, right.
Don't accuse or attack, but just say, here's how I feel. I could be wrong. Maybe you feel a certain way too. Let's talk about it. And I think people are always scared to communicate for fear of being let down or offending another person. My parents' generation was you sweep everything under the rug and supposedly it goes away, and it never went away. And so I grew up in a household where conflict was a bad thing. So you avoid conflict at all costs. Well, it's still there. It manifests in resentment. So conflict is actually one of the number one things that can bring people more intimately together once you get through the conflict.
Yeah.
That's what builds intimacy. Not just great times, but the times that you can say, you know what, I care enough to work through this, communicate through this, see your perspective, share my perspective, and then see where we come to a conclusion from there.
Yeah. We've recently started working with a family coach, and my wife and I are doing a lot of work together. And a lot of it's been exactly what you're saying with the communication, and more importantly, the tonality, right, of how you say certain things. I'm habitually late, right? I almost am always a couple minutes behind. And there's a big difference between my wife kind of giving me an attitude when I walk through the door compared to being playful about it.
Right.
And be like, man, I guess your watch broke, right? Like just kind of being fun about it so then I can explain it rather than if she accuses, then automatically I get defensive, and then that can just escalate to a conversation that we don't want to have that's not going to be productive.
Humor is such a powerful tool in communication. And when we get triggered, like if she got triggered by you being late, to be able to stop and say, how am I going to get what I want out of this? Attacking is not going to get what you want out of this. Being playful and maybe making an open dialogue opportunity is going to get you what you want out of it, more so than attacking. No one wants to be attacked. And so learning how to, letting the ego work for you when you're triggered and you want to attack someone or you want to say you did this and I'm mad. If you could just pause for a second and say, I want to get the most out of this situation, and will attacking this person do it? The answer is always going to be no. Then you say to yourself, what's a better way to handle this?
Yeah. Well, it's that communication in general. It's something I think a lot of times we do lack, because with the ego, we want to say things to make ourselves feel better at first, right? It's like, I'm going to retaliate.
Yeah.
But you're right. If you think about it and say, hey, is this actually bringing any value to the conversation, or is this just going to make me feel better? Like, that's a very easy lens to kind of view it from, and say, I'm going to keep that to myself for right now.
I use writing things down as a true strategy, ongoing. Before I say something, if it's going to be something that could escalate into something more that's important, I write it out first. And I give myself often a few hours or a day, and I go back and I read that, and I see if my emotional state is still the same. And 99.9% of the time it is not. And what that long letter was is literally something I could communicate in maybe 4 sentences. So having strategies like that to walk away, write something down, take a deep breath. My mom had this saying that I use as a mantra. Mantras are the best way to retrain your brain. Like having these sayings that stop you, pattern disruption. She would always say, act like class, not like a... And so anytime you want that Delco in me wants to like be triggered, I'm like, act like class, don't like a... And you guys know what that other word was, right? There's children here. Or there's this movie, The Way of the Peaceful Warrior. It's also a book. And the warrior is teaching the ego, young-minded student how to control their emotions. And he said, fools react, warriors respond. And that to me was always very profound. So if you feel like you're going to react, if you could just pause yourself for a second and say, fools react, warriors respond, you're probably going to respond to the situation a lot more effectively.
Love that. Well, Jen, we're coming up to the end of the time, and we greatly appreciate you being with us. Any final thoughts you would love to leave the audience with?
Yeah, I mean, as you're going into 2025, it's an exciting time. I know there's a bunch of business people in here too. So I'm going to take it off of just mindset for a second, if that's okay. My daughters are juniors in college. And as an entrepreneur, since I graduated college in 95, I am constantly, you constantly have to stay relevant. You constantly have to be challenged to know what's next and be on the front end of it and hopefully not on the back end of it. And be open to learn. Growth equals happiness. That's why so many entrepreneurs are happy, because they're most hopefully in a constant state of growth. And so I said to them recently, in the last 3 semesters of college, the 4 most important things you need to take classes on are AI, data analytics, content creation, and psychology. And if you focus on taking classes in those 4 areas, you will rule the world as you get out of college. But that's not just for college students. That's for all of us. We can be taking courses online and staying up to beat what's going on with AI, transforming business rapidly. It's so exciting. It's scary for people who aren't staying open to learning it. It's not going away. And so if you're not using it, you're not as productive as the person that is. And reading data and understanding data just allows us to stop throwing darts in the wind and be able to get laser focused on how we're marketing and communicating and getting ROIs. And the whole mindset behind that is really staying curious. If you go into 2025 staying curious, open to learn, open to grow, you will have a phenomenal opportunity in business, because things are going to be changing rapidly. In consumer products, it's a very exciting time for food. We got the go-to cleaning guys here today. They have a cleaning product. They'll tell you about it, but it's non-toxic and it's safer, and all of those things are going to be mattering more coming into the next year. And so it's an exciting time, but staying curious and open to learn and grow is the most important part.
Fantastic. Well, Jen, for anybody who's not familiar with you, how can they connect with you? How can they follow you?
Yeah, so my Instagram, I'm most active on, LinkedIn, Facebook. TikTok's not much yet, but I need to be. I know my clients are more than me. My children literally learn everything there, but it's Jen Groover on all of those. JenGroover, like groovy with an R.
Love it. Well, Jen, thanks so much for your time as always. Appreciate you.
Thanks for joining us, Jen.
Friends who don't know, our guest right now is my friend Sam DeMeio. Sam and I actually just connected over the last probably 2 months or so. I've been seeing him all over, and he's like the governor of our gym. Like people literally walk up and kiss the ring like the Don. Him and his lovely wife Jen are always in there. It's been a pleasure getting to know you, spending time in the gym with you. I really enjoy the way you look at business and how you break things down. I know a lot of what you do is in the contracting space, but you are definitely not a contractor by the way you run your business, the way you think of things. So I really wanted you to get into some of the systems and processes that you run through and how that's helped you scale more than just a business.
Sure. Absolutely. So I feel like SOPs, standard operating procedures, setting those up correctly from the start is where you're going to become effective, where you're going to become profitable. And then when you find those mistakes as you're doing it, become better at it time and time again. So, and if you're not tracking those things, you'll never know how to make more money. And I feel like in this type of business or any type of business, the name of the game is money, because if you're not having that oxygen money come in, you're not going to survive. Yep. Too many people, start their businesses, start to take loans and do all these things. And then they have no idea if they're making money or not because they're not tracking it. And then they go out of business and they have a lot of debt. So I think what I did a little differently was I started really small. I started, when I was 19 years old. I started building a little bit of a team, which first was just me and the helper. And then as we start to grow, I started to track everything. I started to learn things because, again, the college thing wasn't for me. I tried it out, didn't work out too good. But I feel like going through and doing it myself with reading books and, there's really no content out there to, as far as owning your own entrepreneurship. Now there's a lot more, but back then there wasn't. YouTube wasn't a thing. So my way of learning how to do things was the Home Depot 1, 2, 3 book. That's kind of
seen that.
Oh yeah, I still have that to this day. It's still in my office. I learned how to do a lot of things just by picking up stuff, playing with it, and making it work just like the system. So for my flip properties, I came up with a 42-point checklist. I actually now have a big board of it in my office. We also have it in a program called Trello. You could do it with any business. It doesn't have to be the flipping or construction. It could be anything that has a process. You write down that process in steps. You write those steps down in order, and then you follow that order. In our case, that 42-point checklist, has either a half a check as it started or an X as it's done. So I can look at 80 projects that are on a board, 40 of them active at any given time, and then see exactly where I'm at and what the next step is. And I like to have the next 3 steps already set up on each project so that this way the project keeps running smoothly. Because again, I didn't have project managers. Now I do. I have 5 project managers. We have a company of about 58 employees right now, 4 project managers, operations manager, and everyone has their own role. And I think I really, really started to scale it up when we read a book called Traction from Gino Wickman.
Yep.
So that book was a game changer for me. I wish I read it, years and years ago. And my mentality was before, you don't need coaching, you don't need consulting, I could do everything. Well, you probably can, if you have that mindset, you can, but it's going to take a long time. So to scale it up and to speed that up, I ended up hiring the coach from Traction. Like I called him and, he came out and, again, I feel like I could have done it, but it took me 5 years when we got done in a year. So what the Traction coach did is it wasn't just me, it was the whole team. Because we had a great team. It was just everyone was doing everything with no accountability. So, if something got missed, everyone was pointing the finger. There was no real one person that did one set thing. It was everyone did everything. So once we set up those pretty much like roles, we set up accountability for those roles. And that's when I really started to see the business start to take shape. Before I said, hey, we shouldn't have meetings. They're a waste of time. And, now we have a set meeting. It's an L10 meeting every Tuesday at 10 to 11:30. I also recently integrated a daily huddle at 7:25. You log on and just a 15-minute meeting with the project managers. And then they're supposed to do that with their staff, their crew after that. So, that's some of the things that we just incorporated into our system that also tracks everything. So our CRM tracks, the money, how much money we're spending on a job. At the end of the job, we do, pretty much what the final balance is and profitability on each job. And then we can see where we were short or where we're ahead. And then we kind of can adjust as needed.
Yeah. One of the things you showed me, that hopefully it's okay to share, you were showing me a little bit of the app that you guys have created for the bathroom.
Sure.
So can you go a little bit into like what even caused you to want to develop that, and what does that process look like now?
So like any other business owner, when I started my business, I never worked for anybody. I joined the military. I was 17, so I joined the Army. So my junior year of high school, I was right in Fort Knox, Kentucky. Came back, finished my senior year, then went to advanced training, 19 years old. I went into Camden County Jail. I was stuck there for 5 years. As a correctional officer, I wasn't an inmate. While I was doing that, though, I pretty much started from the military. They have SOPs. They're very big on SOPs from anything. You have a Hummer truck. You have a checklist of, before you take that truck out, pre-battle checklist. You go through each item, check it off, it's done, right? Then you're going to operate that piece of equipment properly. When we started to basically develop everything with my business, I kind of take that same mindset over to the business mindset. That was my college. Army was my college, right? And I didn't realize until later on in life that, oh my God, all these things actually help me to do what I do now. And it was huge for me because I feel like I was able to overcome a lot of things that a lot of people aren't able to because they ain't, experience that type of thing. So I feel like, military, and then, the jail, I was there for 5 years. And then I was a Gloucester Central police officer for 5 years. My business was already going. So at 19, we started everything. We started doing, construction. 22, I had 10 employees. We did a lot of insurance work. We were working directly for the insurance companies. But I was also a police officer. So I felt like I needed to do something quick. So in and out. Then I started Showcase, right? Mm-hmm. So Showcase was in and out. At the time, it was flooring. So I could be done, a tile job in a day or two, flooring in one day, hardwood floor just about one day. And I did all that. I did all the installs. I did the sales, then I hired subs, and then I kind of built that up. But to get back to your point, when I started, Showcase and started building up, the systems and processes, I feel like having the right guys and the right team to build that up with me and then train them on exactly how we do it repeatedly, that's how it's going to, pretty much bring the profit that we want. And then when I started the one-day bathroom business, like we talked about, it's called Go High Level, is a platform. I didn't really know marketing that much, only because we were like word of mouth. So like every day I probably get 4 or 5 calls from jobs I've done in the past, their family members. Now maybe their kids have a house and they need some type of work. And it's really been good. But I saw a guy on Facebook actually build his business up to doing 500 bathrooms a month. That was the shower area. He ended up selling that business for $100 million. And then, on Facebook, again, always be positive. People are so negative. I just like saying something positive every day, just to like blurt out the negative. And people are going to say something negative about any positive thing anyway, because people hate their lives, right? And those people just stay away from, to stay away from them and just hang out with people positive, because that's going to bring you up. But getting back to, the Go High Level, everything goes into one platform, and then it could be called off of that platform. So any leads that come in through Facebook, Instagram, any of there's Google LSA, which is local services, which a lot of contractors don't use, and they definitely should. That should be like, other than their free marketing stuff that they could do online on social media, that's definitely number one, because we get a lot of business from that. Google pay-per-click, I don't feel like it's effective, because you got big gazillion-dollar companies.
Yeah,
God
is an insurance.
Yeah,
absolutely. So for that, you really can't compete. No reason to even try. You don't need to. There's no need. But everything goes into one system, and then that'll be called off of that system, whether it be here or you could also use virtual assistants. Like we have virtual assistants in the Philippines. I have an assistant in the Philippines. I also have an assistant here in my office. So they're able to leverage what I can't do, and that's all about buying your time back.
Yep.
And I don't know if you ever read that book.
Yeah.
He's really good. So I met him at Tony Robbins Business Mastery in August. It was great. And I read the book maybe a year prior, and that kind of triggered me to do the VA thing. So VA things are great. They're very empathetic. I'm a jokester, so I'm like, why are you on break again? She's like, oh, I'm sorry, come on break. I'm kidding.
Just kidding with you.
I said, you're so small. What do you eat? But we had a lot of fun. And again, I think, if you have fun at work, and the guys around you and gals around you are having fun at work, that's what makes it all, more enjoyable.
For sure. For sure. So you're, Justin mentioned that you practice EOS. So we, as a company, also practice EOS. So on your Tuesday meetings now, is that your IDS meeting? And are you bringing together all your leadership and
Yep.
kind of talk about like what the structure of that meeting is and what comes out of it a lot of times?
Yeah. So what we do is it's exactly that. So it's the good news. You always go over the good news first. That's the first 5 minutes. It's always an hour and a half. Then you go over your to-dos, and then you go over obviously your IDS items, and then anything that needs to be done, right? Then you prioritize that, right? And then you obviously start the most important thing and work your way down until the time's over. Once the time's over, it's done. And then what I noticed with that was the things when I first started, those problems that I thought were huge,
Yep.
I literally laughed. I'm like, oh my God, that was a problem. Now I have really big problems.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So and then, again, it's a journey. So like I was telling someone earlier, it never gets easier. You just get better at dealing with it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And you start to have that experience of dealing with whatever might be thrown at you. You got to be able to take it down in a second. Right. And the quicker you do it and just not run away from it, the better it's going to become and a lot faster.
Yeah. Love that.
Well, definitely want to say thanks for your service. We haven't said that yet, so we greatly appreciate you putting your life on the line for our freedoms. But one thing I do want to ask, kind of off business topic, but it kind of all plays in. I love like your energy. You are always like you're very happy. You're just like you seem to thoroughly enjoy life, and that's really what I measure success on. Right? You have great relationships. You just show up. What is like what anything that you do? Like what helps you with that?
I think I wake up like full of energy. I don't know why. My wife might drive her crazy when I wake up. I'm ready to go 1,000 miles a minute. So and I think just developing habits of positivity is going to bring you up. You walk in a room, you start to have energy. You start to feed off the energy, and then the people around you also start to feed off that energy, and it just works. It bounces back and forth. And me starting to go to the gym, even though I didn't want to go to the gym originally, that became a habit. And then, those habits, you start to get rid of some bad habits, add in some good habits. And then, those bad habits that you did before, that's just like something you don't want to do anymore because you know how much good you could bring to it. And then I recently started the cold plunge journey. And I put a cold plunge in my closet and
Closet.
in my closet.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Closet's an understatement, but yeah, it's his closet.
What's that for him? Yeah, my closet is pretty. It's a decent size size. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. My wife didn't like because the other day, you got to flush it out, and
How you do that in your closet?
so there's a window. Right, I'm crazy. Like I said, I'm crazy. So, I flushed out the window, had a little pump, pumped it out, and I put the hose in. Right, and I forgot, which I didn't know at the time. I forgot there's like one of the valves you have to close. There's like two down the bottom.
Yeah.
I left one open.
Oh.
I get in the shower.
Oh,
I come out. There is water all over my closet.
carpet, hardwood.
With the hardwood.
Good thing you're a GC.
I just said, so you know, a guy.
So yeah, I had someone from the office bring over the fans. I was cleaning all the water. Actually, she was cleaning all the water. And well, we got it done. And I really enjoy the cold plunge. I definitely want to see you get involved with that too, because I feel like it's a game changer too. I feel like I'm high all day.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Keeps the energy rolling.
Because it's jump start.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about what are some goals for where you're heading for 2025? What are things you're working on or working towards?
So today, I set up it's called the War Room, and my office is in Washington Township. We set up a training center upstairs, so that this way, we can kind of formulate almost like a consistent plan for each crew member, each project manager. Train them once a week, bring them in, from the top level guy all the way down to the guy who's the most important guy. That's the customer facing guy, right? I want them to be able to learn our way and how we do things and the order that we do things, and also be positive. So we came up with our own mission statement this year, and it took me 24 years to come up with the mission statement I actually like, something quick. I said it before. It was funny because I want something that's going to be easy to remember. And then when I brought up my L10 meeting, I went back to I made it up. When I was in the correctional academy, we had this thing that we had to say every day. So every day when I start my morning huddle, we say our pretty much our mission statement, which I'll tell you that in a minute. But I told them, you got to memorize it. It's got to be ready for tomorrow. And they said, what is it? I said, excuses are the tools of the incompetent, which build monuments of nothingness. And those of us who specialize in their usage are seldom capable of anything else. They're like, I'm not going to remember that. I said, it's not that. So our thing is this. It's get it, give it. So, and that could be business and life, right? So it's get it, make sure you get it, and then you give it to somebody else. So you make money, and then listen, giving back is like probably the most important thing, in becoming successful, because that is something that is priceless. Really, it is. And I feel like our team is really building up that way, and I feel like everyone feels that way.
Yeah, there's difference between deposits to the bank account and the soul, right?
That's right.
We talk quite a bit about that. So what other foundations are you involved in? What are your favorite givebacks?
So I'm on the board of Wigs and Wishes, which is women with cancer, children, that, in their final stages of life. We're able to do a lot of things there. Recently, I got involved with Ronald McDonald House in Delaware. Pretty cool. And then, we auction off. I think we won some trip to some Italy or something. So maybe next year we'll take a trip there. And then, Otho Davis, which I saw you at, Harold Carmichael, really good guy. When I tell you, really humble. The first time I called him, Big Dom, he's like, hey, call Howard. He needs something done. He says, I'm going on, vacation or whatever for the weekend, and call me on Monday. Call him on Monday. I didn't realize he was getting his Hall of Fame jacket.
Okay.
So he got inducted into the Hall of Fame. Huge. I said, Howard, man, you said you're going on vacation. You got inducted into the Hall of Fame.
Coming as the can.
I know. I said, it was huge. He's like, it would be like, he's just so humble. Then he called me for Otho Davis, like, hey, I want you to come to dinner with me. That's why I saw you again. Yeah. You're all over.
And beautiful night.
It was great.
That's how I knew we were meant to, the world keeps pulling us together. So I knew it was meant to happen. It was meant to be in my life. We're supposed to collaborate and do some beautiful things together.
Yeah, you do some great things. I love everything you do.
I appreciate you being here. You're always sharing some great wisdom with me. Appreciate the time, and just looking forward to continuing to grow. So for the viewers, let people know, how can they find you? How can they follow you? Because you put out some great questions every day. Really appreciate the content that you share on social.
For sure. On Facebook, I'm Sam DeMeio. So it's SAMDEMAIO. Instagram a little bit better, only because I'm maxed out on my Facebook friends. It's like 5,000. So I had to delete people to add people. Instagram, obviously, it's unlimited. And I just started that like in August. But also Showcase for Models is my company. So also on both platforms.
Yeah. Well, Sam, greatly appreciate you being here.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Merry Christmas.
Thanks for joining us, Sam.
Last but certainly not least, good friend of mine, Larry Bradley. Had the pleasure of growing up with this gentleman. Comes from an amazing family. I call them the All-American family, all blonde hair, blue eyes. They
All-American.
they tend not to miss. They do a lot of things well. Great family, entrepreneurial spirit throughout. Invest together. You guys do a lot of amazing things. And what I really wanted to highlight, Larry has a cleaning company with his brothers that they focus on hard surface cleaning. And they do a lot of commercial properties, but they went from a service company to now also offering a product to help clean. So as people are, expanding their business, finding different ways to diversify, I wanted him to talk a little bit about that, how that changes kind of the projections for next year. Obviously, just your role as a business. Now you're thinking, two completely different lanes. So first, congrats on that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for being here. And share a little bit about kind of how this even came to fruition.
Well, absolutely. First off, thank you, Justin and Tyler, for having us here, for what you're doing for Toys for Tots, Ronald McDonald House. It's truly amazing. As Justin said, we kind of grew up together. My brothers are here, who are also my business partners. Me, Nick, and Michael are all Penn State grads. We had business degrees. We shared one thing in common. We wanted to be entrepreneurs. We wanted to start our own business. The next question is, what business? Our story was unique and a little funny. We don't really tell many people this. Our father was on a plane one day, and the Sky Mall magazine had an ad in there for a turnkey cleaning business based out of Arizona. Said, you come out to Arizona, you buy the equipment from us, we train you for a week. Not really sure what a week does in training, not looking back. But there was no ties. It wasn't a franchise, wasn't anything. It was your business. So we said, we were passionate. We really wanted to try something. Didn't know what it was. We said, let's go all in. We knew with our drive and work ethic, we would make it work. So went out to Arizona, had the equipment delivered here, started knocking on doors, trying to drum up some business. 14 years later, we're still learning in the cleaning world. The brothers still get along, but that's kind of where the journey's led us to right now.
I didn't realize that was actually how it started. I know. Ever shared that with me? I asked.
We don't really tell many people that. It's rare, but
again, products in that magazine.
Yeah, we didn't know, and this seemed like a good opportunity, low cost investment, and so we hit the ground running.
It's cool. I like that you said, because we had actually talked about this the other day, just with passion. It was more that you were passionate about being an entrepreneur. It wasn't that you were in love with a cleaning business, right? You knew that you would find something in that you loved, but it was an opportunity to make money and to go out there and make a difference.
Absolutely.
And to do it with your brothers, nonetheless.
Exactly. People still say, I don't understand how you run a business with your brothers and you all still hang out socially, holidays, and we make it work. I think what helped us there is we're all set in our roles in the company. We all have the same large vision, but on a day-to-day basis, we have our individual roles that help us all get to the big picture.
Yeah.
Which is helpful.
And so Bradley's, you guys are as old as Payday, I believe, right? You're coming up on 15 years.
Yep.
So what now, 15 years into this business, did you decide, hey, like I said, we're going to go from services to now we're actually going to have a product we're going to put out into the market?
It was 2019. We're a commercial cleaning company. We're out in the field every day doing work at hospitals, stadiums, multifamily buildings in Philadelphia. We saw a market. I mean, we have a pole barn full of solutions that we use in the field every day. When it came to carpet cleaning specifically, stain removers, they were very stain specific. But you get this one for this one for that. And we said to make life for us technicians easier, we wanted one that's more universal. We could have one product that could tackle majority of these stains. We couldn't find it. So we said we have to go to the source. So we got connected with a chemical manufacturer actually out of Missouri. And they sent us samples. We said, look, this is what we're trying to do. And they said, well, we have this, and this. Send us samples. They gave them to us. We were like, they didn't really love with the first round, but we worked back and forth. They sent us little more. And we finally came up with our concoction of what we wanted. Zero intention to sell this to anyone. It was meant for us, for our cleaning technicians in the field. I said, we want to start with a pallet. We ordered a pallet. They said, of course. They said, what are you calling it? And we were like, I don't know. We weren't even
just for us.
We weren't even going to put a label on it. We have to put a label on it. So we said we planned for this to be our go-to solution in the field. So call it go-to. And the first generation of the product was just our Bradley's logo, go-to, and like a construction boot, like kind of clip art, the construction boot like on a piece of carpet. And that's how go-to derived. Huh. Since then, we would be with clients in the field. They would see us using it. What is that? What is that? How do I get that? How do I get it for my building? How do I get that for my house? Then some friends we started handing out to, same thing. How do I get more? How do this? And we're kind of like, we're a service company. We're not a product company. We have a little more if you need it, and we would go from there. Well, we started getting asked more and more and more. And finally we said, is the universe telling us something? This seems to be a problem that people have on a daily basis. I know I have two young daughters and a dog in my house. So it's used on a very frequent basis. So we decided in January of this year why don't we really try to give this an effort? We totally redesigned the label. We hired a company to do that. We met a lot of great people along the way, and we put forth an effort. Now it's taken us a year. We were just in the past 30 days able to have this on our website, be able to purchase direct to consumer, but building that infrastructure. I mean, it's a totally different business to your point, Justin. We're so used to the service side, which I'm not going to say we're experts in it, but we know it very well because we've been doing it for so long. Now being introduced to a product side. I mean, it's fun though. To what the earlier speakers were saying, it's growing, it's learning, it's a new business. It excites us because it's just something different than what we've been doing for the past 14 years. Yeah.
So now, as you and your brothers are sitting down, the year end's upon us. What are we kind of planning for? What are you guys really working towards for 2025?
We want to continue down the Bradley's cleaning path because we're honing in on that craft. We do it every year. We're finding the clients that fit best with us, the work that makes sense for us, what our clients need, our core clients, and branching out from there. And the go-to side, I mean, the go-to was created out of a necessity for us, for our cleaning business. We've done the hard work. We've been testing this in the field. It's been used in the field every single day for the past 6 years, but no one knows about it. So we need to build our goal for go-to next year is awareness. We need to get more people aware of how the product started, who's behind it. It's tested in the field by professionals, and now get people aware of it so that it is in your household when you have an accident or when you need it.
Yeah. You guys have done a great job so far. I see it on social media. You've put some commercials together. You have the day-to-day posts. So definitely doing a great job with that. I'm buying some. I don't even have carpet, and I'm just handing them out to people, just trying to get the word out there for you as well. Absolutely. Yeah. Always. So, overall, when you guys are kind of doing this now with that product portion of it, is that something that, are you even looking to sell back to your commercial clients, or you're just using that anyway? So it's kind of already Like, how's that part work?
It's a great question. So our commercial clients do buy cases from us because they, in between us coming out and professionals and providing our services, cleaning, they want to have something in-house that their staff can use to prevent stain. I mean, stains happen every day,
Sure.
especially in 45-story buildings in Philadelphia with dogs and pets and coffee and everything. So they'll buy it, but the intention is really to have this, to bring it to the household, to bring it to people's homes for the holidays coming up. The one less thing you need to worry about this time of year is if something does happen. A friend of mine just over the weekend reached out and she said, I ran through my house because I heard one of my kids yelling, not realizing my shoes were covered in mud. And she was like, I ran right through my living room and I turned around and I panicked. And she was like, I'm hosting the holidays, this and that. And she said, thankfully, I've ordered a bottle of Go-To and it took it right out.
Good.
So, I mean,
Rescue.
exactly. And we really say we do love the name because it's our go-to. Now we wanted to make it everybody's go-to.
Yeah, I love that. So playing off that a little bit, what's your guys' like distribution model? Are you trying to go to big box stores? Are you Amazon? You know,
We're starting direct to consumer. So on our website, we are building out Amazon store as we speak. In the future, we hope that it's in retail, big box stores. Like any entrepreneur, we have big plans. We vision. We get exciting ideas. We already have future products that we think will make sense under the Go-To brand. But like I said about awareness, we really just want to make sure next year we get the message out there that this is our product, this is our story, and it started with this product because we developed it for reasons we needed in the cleaning company, and we know it works. Yeah. Off of that, I feel like we can branch out and add more under that umbrella.
Yeah, I love that.
Now, overall with your family, one thing I love is like you guys mastermind together. You guys, you've invested in real estate and stuff. Like, where did that all come from?
Our parents. Our father had a very successful career, and he worked from the mailroom to the CEO. He's one of the stories you kind of hear about. He always said, I want you guys to start your own business. He said, I think that's a ticket to freedom. And he would always say that to us growing up. And he would teach us self-esteem and different, like, kind of unique ways where some of our friends would come over and be like, what is he talking about? But it was just, he's done it since we were young. And so we always had that itch, which is why when we all graduated, we said, we're going to do it. We're going to give it a try. I'm glad we did it at the time we did it too. Because a lot of people, and I'm talking to people here, I think it's great. Because I talk to people who have these really good ideas, but it's just getting started. And one piece of, not to say I know it all, but one piece of advice I would say is just get going. Take action. Even if it's a little step, but just take action. Don't let a good idea, which could turn into a great business, go to waste just because you didn't take that first couple steps.
Yep.
Just baby step your way there.
Yeah, because you made a sacrifice. Tell a little bit, the rewind. I mean, you had a corporate job. You were living up in Rochester, if I remember correctly. I kind of lost you for a year or two. And then out of nowhere, you were like, I have a big announcement, like I'm coming back.
Yeah.
So kind of talk us through that. What was the decision from going from, because Nick was also, like, you guys were both working. Michael was just getting ready to graduate college. So how did that whirlwind kind of?
I did move up to Rochester, which from anybody that's not there, it's winter about 10 months a year, which is coming from down here. People that live there, they get it, but it's gray skies way too long. I mean, beautiful place, a lot of schools. I mean, it was fun, but I did have a position there with the trade association. I was executive director, and I loved it. I was able to travel a lot and do this and that, but I was dealing with electrical contractors, entrepreneurs on a daily basis. They were my board of directors, so I reported to. And that, like, fire inside, I knew I wanted to do something. And I'm like, then I started dating my now wife, who lived in Manhattan. And we went on a trip together, and the Manhattan office was like, I want you to come down here and work in this, so you'll be closer to Kristen. I said, I would love that, but it's not going to make me happy. And Chris says, you got to take that opportunity. I said, no, we're going to do this. And that's when we came across this opportunity, and it fueled the fire. I mean, we hit, like I said, hit the ground running. It wasn't easy. I mean, a lot of my friends were like, what are you doing? Like, you have this great job, you have freedom, you travel. How are you going to start a cleaning business? And I said, well, it's something we want to try. And we did. And we're all on the same page. So it's worked out well to this point. Like I said, we do not know it all. We are still learning. We are still on a daily basis in our cleaning business, let alone the product side.
Sure.
But it's fun. It's enjoyable. It gives us, we all love it.
That's a great story. Did you tell Kristen that you found the idea in Sky Mall?
That's a good question. I'm not sure if she knew exactly where we found the idea. The ironic thing there is her father, who recently retired, has been in the flooring industry his entire career. So he was when we we're really considering this. He was a good person to bounce ideas off of. Say, what do you think about this? Is the market there? How, like, and this and that. So it was good to have him as a soundboard. But again, he's like, new boyfriend, you're leaving this nice job you had to do this. So but it was a risk.
You did
it was worthwhile.
Yeah.
What would you say is one of the biggest takeaways from like now launching a product? What's been like the biggest hurdle or the biggest aha like moment through it?
Building the infrastructure. I mean, it's easy. We thought it was easy, like anything. Like even when we started Clean Kids, well, we'll go from 0 to X amount of sales in a year. It's not realistic. I mean, some companies do, which is great. Building the infrastructure to be able to actually go to our website, click, add to cart, and buy it, and it comes from our manufacturer in Missouri to our distributor in Utah, and it goes to your house. I mean, it's fun to see now they're doing it, but we've been doing this for a year, and just in the past 30 days, it's been up on the website, able to purchase. So I think that's the biggest hurdle that I wasn't expecting to getting into the product world. Like there's a lot more that goes behind the scenes. Like I buy stuff on a daily basis.
Yeah.
All the packages just show up at our house and this and that, but you don't really think about it because it's just the website's there. You click it, you buy it, Apple Pay, whatever you use. It's simple. They make it so simple, but there's a lot behind the scenes that goes into that.
That was definitely a smooth transaction through the website. So it looks great. So why don't you tell folks how can they find the product, where can they buy it, and how can they follow you?
The product is cleanwithgoto.com. It's at cleanwithgoto, our social media, at Bradley's Cleaning. It gives you a little more of the background of the cleaning company itself and the projects that we get involved with. A lot of people tell us they love our videos because people love seeing power washing or anything they can look at. So yeah, our website, we did bring some samples here. If anybody's interested, they're 4-ounce samples, but you can bring it home, test it out. If you like it, tell people about it. You can go on our website and purchase the bigger bottle.
Awesome.
Well, friends, we all are going to be hosting people for the holidays. You're inevitably going to have the wine spill, the stain. So it's definitely a product we all need. But this day has officially come to a wrap. We greatly appreciate you all being with us today. And stay tuned for more to come.
Best day ever, fans.
Best day ever. Merry Christmas and happy holidays to everybody. Thanks for being here.